I'm using cartridge number 2, and this is the very first song I have ever used the polka rhythm. So we're gonna play with our polka rhythm today. 6, 1, 2, guitar. And the polka sounds like this. That's polka. Okay, so all right, so I'm going to turn it down because I actually have a story to tell, and in order to tell it, I have pictures. So let me switch my screen here. Here we go. So some of you know, because I did tell this story on Tuesday, and I mentioned it on Twitter. I live where I have well water, and it was time to winterize my sprinkler system because we had a freeze come through this week in the dark of the night. So this is a picture of my well house, and it's about 8 foot wide and about 5 foot deep, but it's only about 5 foot tall. It's a squatty little thing, so the doorway is only about 4 foot high, and that's smack dab in the middle of this. I needed to go in there and take a plug out of the pump and let the water all drain out. And I also needed to take a filter off and let the water all drain out of that. That's the job. And it's not a hard job, but I hate it. I hate it because usually there's spiders in there, because nobody goes in there all summer long, and the spiders just build all kinds of webs and have a grand old time keeping the flies down. But I hate it. So I thought, get ready, get out there, let's take a look. But as I started to head on out, I happened to notice over on the side, I don't know if you can see it, but there's 2 holes over on the side of the shed that clearly something's been digging into it, and it's not my dogs. And those holes are about yay big. So at first I thought, it's a little too big for a snake, but it could be a critter. It could be a gopher. It could be a mole. It could be a ground squirrel. It could be a skunk. We don't know. But I thought I better get myself prepared. So I went in the house and I put on a heavy leather jacket and heavy duty gloves. These gloves, you can't cut them with metal. They're protective gloves. They're so good. And I put on protective eyeglasses, and I put on a hat to keep the spiders off of me. And I went out there ready to go. And I decided to get a long-handled tool. This is a gardening tool. And I used it, I banged all over on the shed, banged on the rooftop, banged on the sides. And my hope was that if there's a critter in there, he'll go out one of those 2 holes on the side, and I won't have to deal with him, and all will be well. So I banged and banged and banged, and I listened. I didn't hear anything. So I thought, okay, we'll open the door. Open this short door that you have to bend down to get into. So here's what it looks like inside. And the first thing I noticed, and you probably won't recognize it, but it's full of sand. It wasn't full of sand when I closed it up in the springtime. It's actually got about 4 inches thick of sand all across the bottom that wasn't there before. So I thought, well, that's interesting. And then sitting on top of the sand, see that there's little black droppings. So something's been using this as a sandbox, as a litter box. And yeah, more litter over here and more litter over here in the corner. And they've even been clawing at this door, at this vent. Those are all claw marks down there. So I thought, oh, and then when I turned and looked at this area, the smell hit me. I tell you what, it was like ammonia on steroids. So clearly, whatever's been in here, it's been a while. They've been coming in here often. I thought, well, it's empty. I'll get a shovel and I'll clean it out. So I went back in the house, took off my heavy leather jacket, took off those gloves, put on rubber gloves, and got a trash bag ready to, bag up. and a disinfectant spray. And I went out there and I sprayed to try and get rid of that smell. Oh, and I put on a surgical mask. It was an excellent use of a surgical mask because that does kill, it helps reduce the amount of smell that you smell. So I had thought, dire prongs, I had thought maybe it was a stray cat or even a raccoon, although those are kind of big to me, but I wasn't sure. And so I started cleaning up and with my shovel and, getting out the sand with the droppings and piling it all up to clean up later. And there was more hiding behind that pump. And then I started digging around in the far left corner, and I saw, there was this board over on the left-hand side. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of leaning against the wall, and there's sand all piled up on top of that board. And there's what I thought was droppings with this little dark area right here in front of that board. I thought that was droppings, so I grabbed the board and pulled it down to get ready to clean out. And that's when I saw the skunk. So I was literally, my hands could have touched the skunk. I was this close to the skunk. And we'll go back here, dink, 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 to the holes. Yeah, here we go. That board was against this wall, and so he goes in one hole, and he's got that nice little lean-to, and then he goes out that hole. So he had a system. Scared the dickens out of me. I let out a shriek, and I don't know how I actually got back into my house. It's 100 feet away, and I have no memory of going from the shed to the house. But I made it, and I calmed down, got all the adrenaline out of my system, and I called a neighbor to say, what do you do about a skunk? It's in my well house. What do I do? And he told me, well, they're nocturnal, so what you need to do is just wait till nighttime, and when he goes out to go and feed, that's when you close up the holes, and then tomorrow you can winterize. And I did have one more day to get it done, so I thought, well, okay. So hung up. Started thinking about it, and I thought, what? I left the garage open where I got my gardening tool, so I thought I better go and close that up because I don't want the skunk to end up in there. And so out I went to close that door, and I noticed that the shed, the well shed door was just flapping in the breeze, and I thought I better probably close it. And I looked inside, and the skunk was gone. Yay. So I was able to actually finish the job. I was able to dig out the pump and take off that filter and take off the plug and let it drain out. I got the job done. And then one more. There we go. And then I plugged those holes with a bunch of bricks, a bunch of yard blocks that I happened to have laying around. So all of that adventure inspired a song. Now this song is a really small song. So I normally call little songs like this a ditty. This one's about a half a ditty. It's more like an itty-bitty ditty. And Boppaju gave it a name. Boppaju named this the Skunk Wee Ditty. And so here we go. Let me get it turned back on. So the song's way shorter than the story. Did Pancake Party make it in? I was hoping she'd be able to hear that. Pancake Party, welcome on in. And thank you so much for my sweet emotes. I just adore them. I love my little hype emote. Yeah, piddle and poo. That was really the most memorable part of the whole adventure. So that's my Halloween story, because, you're supposed to have a spooky story, and I didn't before, so I guess, the universe decided Marilee needed a scary story for Halloween. Welcome. Okay, let's see if I say this right. Jish Koss. Welcome, Jish Koss. Thank you very much. I'm having a good time, and I just finished telling a story about a skunk. I'm glad I didn't get sprayed, and I'm glad that he wasn't rabid. He didn't turn around and bite me. Because by the time I found him, I had taken off all my protective stuff. I had rubber gloves and bare arms. A wee bit of skunk wee. Oh.